Hey, what's up guys? Austin Rock Tyler here. So today's video is going to be about, it's going to be all about modding Fallout 4, basically downloading, merging, splicing, condensing, recompiling, whatever you want to call it. My goal is to have this video still be around 30 minutes, but there's a lot to cover, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make that. But I do have this to-do list here in order to help keep me on track and focused. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys what my current overhaul RAR file looks like. As you've seen from Nexus, which I don't have it installed right now. But when I did in my other in my first Fallout video, you saw that there's 240 plugins or something like that. So I'm going to open that up so you guys can see what mine currently looks like. And this is something that I've slowly been working on and building up over the course of maybe 2 years now. So the concept of merging mods is, for the most part, pretty simple. It's really all about file structure. And when it comes to installing mods in Fallout, it's always, the file structure is always going to be data slash something else like music or slash screens or slash textures. You're going to see a whole lot of textures and meshes though, because those are going to be obviously retextures, or the meshes are going to be like the models for new items that you might be adding to the game. And then you'll also have ESPs that just go straight into a data folder, as you can see right here. Now, where is this folder in the game directory? A lot of you probably already know that, but for those of you that aren't familiar with modding, you just literally go to the install directory of Fallout 4 right up here. So Fallout 4, this is the main game, and then data right here. So everything that you throw into this game that's installed through mods, at least with Nexus Mod Manager, or if you manually install your mods, it's always going to go in data. And it doesn't have a ton of stuff in it right now because I uninstalled my Overhaul, but you do see the mods that I downloaded and compiled just for the sake of this video. So I went ahead and downloaded these and compiled them just to save a little bit of time for making this. But, hold on. Okay, so here's the mods that I am using. I do have Fallout Edit down here. I'm not going to show you how to use it extensively, but I do have the link, because if getting into modding is and resolving conflicts and creating merges is something that you want to do yourself, you are absolutely going to have Fallout Edit. But other than that, these are the main mods I'll be using. I tried to get a variety of different mods because, you know, some are script mods, some might have a FOSS installer, some might just be nothing but the data folder, and those are pretty simple. And some of them have BA2 files. So High Tech Buildings HD, that's one that comes with an ESP, but then it also has 2 BA2 files that it comes with. Mod configuration menu is something that a lot of you probably already use. I chose to download this only because it has a really good file structure already. So I plan on going to the page at some point to show that to you guys. Main menu, Red Rocket Garage, Sanctuary Leftovers, Fallout 3 National Guard Armory. Those are all my mods that you can see on the Nexus. You should check them out. They're super high quality, and I'm almost 100% certain that they're bug-free. But these are nothing but ESP files, so they're super simple, and that's why I chose to use them. Plus, you know, who doesn't want to promote themselves? And then ammo retexture. This is a really cool mod that I was actually the one that requested the uploader to make it years ago, before I actually knew how to do retextures or modding myself. So he was cool and actually made this for me and then uploaded it to the Nexus. But this has a FOSS installer in it, which is why I chose that one. So the next thing, let's see, extract mods, explain file structure, compare and contrast Ultimate Overhaul. Okay, so let's say you've already downloaded the mods, you've already gone to these links and you've downloaded them. I like to be organized, so I always throw my stuff into a folder. So here would be my downloaded mods, and then when you open them, so this is the one that comes with the FOSS installer. And FOSS is basically, if you were to install it through a mod manager, You know, it's a scripted installer where a window pops up and you can choose the options you want. But if you're trying to just rip out exactly what you want and put it into your own mod, then you can just open it up. There's FOMod, and then these folders are each the different options that you would see. If you're not sure what everything is, I would suggest going through the FOMod installer just so that you can see good written examples of what each thing that you can pick does. And then once you know what it is that you want, then you come back to here and you choose what you want. So let's say I wanted weathered, which is actually what I use anyway. So I go into weathered, boom, there's data. So you'd pull that out. And I like red shotgun shells, so you go into that, here's data again, and you just pull that out. I don't actually need that because I've already got them compiled. So that would be it for that one. National Guard Armory, Sanctuary Leftovers, Red Rocket Garage. I'm only going to open up one of these because they're all exactly the same. Data, boom, ESP. That's all it is. You take the data folder out, or sometimes mods might not even have a data folder. If you open up the file, it might just be the ESP. That's fine. You can just create a data folder and throw the ESP into that. It's pretty much the same thing with anything that has a BA2 file. So data, ESP, BA2. While you can, and personally I have extracted this BA2 file because I like loose files, if you're not super familiar with modding, I'd highly recommend just leaving them as they are, extracting these, throwing them into your data folder, boom, done. And the mod configuration menu, this one has a really awesome file structure, which is why I wanted to show this to you. So data, and you can see this has a couple of different things that a lot of other mods might not have. This is a script mod. So anytime you're downloading a mod with scripts, it's going to have the exact same file structure. So as I said near the beginning, all you really need to know and understand is how file structure on computers work, because it's really just making sure that everything is in the right directory. And a lot of times if you install a mod and something is wrong, it could just be that it got installed to the wrong directory. So you've extracted all these, you have your data folder. I already actually do have a data folder right here. Here's mine. So this is all of those mods extracted and combined. This is what it would look like. And then, whoops, didn't mean to do that. I like using WinRAR, but you can also use zip files, and I'm sure 7-zip works as well, but I don't know. I don't really use 7-zip. So you just right-click it, add to archive, or you could just do add to data.rar. Doesn't matter. I like to actually name my mods though. So test mod, save it, done. Then this is what you get. It's the exact same thing. It's just been compressed, and then you would use Nexus Mod Manager to add the mod. Something that some of you guys might not be aware of anyway, is that when it comes to really large files, like my Ultimate Overhaul, the larger the file, the longer the mod manager takes to install it. Obviously because it's copying the files to the directory, but what you might not know is that depending on where you are in the process of installing the mod, it actually has to do it twice. That is because when you tell the Nexus to install something, it actually makes a full copy to itself. You know, actually, if you were to just drop the mod in here, that'd probably save you a step. Say that this was originally on the desktop, and then I installed it through Nexus. It would copy it from the desktop to this directory, its own directory, so I'd have 2 copies of it. And then, once it's listed here, and you double-click it to install it, then that's when it extracts from this directory and unpacks all of this to the game folder, which is why super long mods or large mods like this one take anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes for it to install. I'm not even kidding. But look at the size of this. This is a 16.8 gigabyte overhaul that I've created. So that's why it takes so long. Alright, what was next on the list? I guess I don't really need to do this because I already kind of showed you guys, but I'll go ahead and do it anyway. So anytime you're downloading a mod and you go to the Files tab, you can preview the file contents, which I usually do, and you can see what the directory is going to look like, and that's going to give you an idea of how you can merge it. I guess it's time for me to show you guys Fallout Edit now. Alright. One thing about Fallout 4 Edit, make sure that you run this program as an administrator, because if you don't, you will regret it. If you do not run it as an administrator, you will probably get an error that the program does not have access to the save directory, and so therefore you cannot save the changes that you've made. I've done this way too many times, and I've lost way too many hours of work. So you can either right-click it and run it as an admin, or what I do is I always come down here and I enable this so that it just runs as an admin every single time. So once you have that good, you're going to open it up. And you'll see a list of mods that you currently have installed. Okay, and we're back. So you'll see this log over here of the program starting up. When it says background loader finished, that's when you can start making your changes. So if you wanted to create an ESP file to control all of these and resolve conflicts, there's honestly a ton of different ways that you could do this, but what I would do that would be the fastest is I would just select one and then come up to the top of the list, hold shift and click, and that'll select everything. And you can right click any one of these, copy as override into, say yes, you want to make changes, and then here you'll see the different types of files that you can create. So if you're ever wondering like, hey, how do people create ESL files instead of ESP files, or how do people create ESM files instead of ESP or ESL files, this is where it's done. So if I wanted just an ESP, I'd select this one right here, because it's not tagged as an ESM or an ESL or anything else. So you do that, select OK, then you give it a name without the extension. So this is going to be merging test for video. Why not? You'll create it, and then the log is going to do its thing, and it's done. So now you'll see this new ESP down here, and you can open it up, and all of these are going to be the exact same entries that are up here. And you can expand them. What's a good one? Oh, I don't actually have any ingestibles or ammo or anything. Container might be good. Yeah, this is good. So this is from my Fallout 3 National Guard Armory. So these are all the different types of entries that are in the game, and when you narrow it down and you select one, this window over here shows you every different ESP that is affecting that specific entry in the game. So, like, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. I don't have a script. I think some people do scripts when they make their videos, but I'm just doing all off the top of my head. But like, if you were to drop down Fallout 4 ESM, you'd see container somewhere around here. There it is. So that is the exact same thing as this one, except obviously there's only 2 here because these are the only 2 that have actually been touched by these mods. I hope that makes sense. I'm just trying to explain it the best way that I can for you guys. So it was originally overwritten by Fallout 3 National Guard Armory, and then we just copied it into the merged ESP. So when you're looking at this window, whichever ESP is listed to the furthest to the right, that is the ESP that dictates what actually shows up in the game. So like for example, by default it's called the Footlocker in Fallout 4 ESM, but National Guard Armory renames it to storage. And let's say that I wanted this Overhaul ESP to call it, I don't know, what's a funny name? Gummy bears, sure. Be the gummy bear container. So then if you were to find this container in the game and look at it, you put your cursor over it, instead of saying Footlocker, or instead of saying storage, it'll say press A to open gummy bears. So it's as simple as that. And actually, you know what? I want to give you another example. I think that was in my to-do list anyway. Noodle cup. That's a good one. So we'll copy as override. We'll put it into the new ESP. And now you can see it's green because it's being affected by another ESP. If it's white, that means that there's nothing else touching it. But it's green now because our new ESP is touching it. Most of the stuff up here you probably won't ever touch. But let's see. So name, instead of calling it noodle cup, let's call it spicy chicken ramen. So now every single noodle cup in the game will be called spicy chicken ramen. But for example, down here the effects, here it says restore health. If you know exactly what to type in, you can just type it in directly, or if you click, you have a drop down arrow and then it'll give you a list of all these different effects that you can have something do. So when it comes to conflicts, anything that's green is obviously good. Anything that has a slight bit of red, you're going to want to take a look at it. This is red because there's a name conflict right here. So you might ask, well, if it's red or if it's green down here, or okay, well, it's got orange, but why is it a different color down here than it is up here? Well, it's all red up here because this entry is completely losing the conflict. Like, nothing that this ESP is trying to push through to the game for this entry is working. But if you come down here, it's a different color because it's winning the conflict. So the only conflict is the name, and it's, as I said earlier, it's to the furthest to the right, so it's winning the conflict. And that's really all there is to it. It's kind of oversimplified in this video, but of course if you have a huge list of mods like I do, you are going to have conflicts out the wazoo, and I've spent hours going through a lot of entries one by one and resolving those conflicts. But what it allows you to do is if you put the time and effort into it like I have, then you can use this master ESP to resolve every conflict for everything that's loaded above it, and you can have the game working exactly as you want. A question that some of you might have right now is, okay, so I've created my own ESP and I've thrown it into a RAR file with a bunch of other ESPs, but how do I get it to automatically load at the end so that I don't have to arrange my load order every single time? So something else that I've done in my overhaul is a lot of other mods that have to be loaded after other ESPs. You can right click it and come down here to add masters, and everything, this box will list everything that is currently above it in the load order. So you want to make sure that you have somewhat of the correct load order in the Nexus before you open up Fallout 4 Edit, because you can't rearrange it in Fallout 4 Edit. The load order that it shows up here depends on how it shows up here in the Nexus. let's say for whatever reason, I made a change in Red Rocket and I needed to make sure that nothing else overrode it. So I would right-click it, add masters, and anything that I knew of had a conflict with it, or that I suspect might have a conflict with it, but that I wanted Red Rocket to win, I would add that as a master, so that when the Overhaul RAR is installed, everything that's listed as a master will automatically be installed before the Red Rocket Garage. That's pretty much what you have to do with the Overhaul ESP as well. Except for this, you're not just going to choose things that you think might have a conflict. You're going to choose everything, because you want everything to be loaded before this. Hey guys, we're back. So I realized that I had a complete dummy moment, and the reason that the other ESPs don't show up in the master list is because they're already masters. That's all it was. They've already been added as masters from when I copied all of the records from them over into the test for video ESP. I feel pretty ridiculous for that, but hey, we all have brain farts sometimes. But that being said, let's move on to the next step, which now at this point I don't remember where I left off. I'm not going to bother copying the Nuka-Cola record over because I pretty much already did that with the noodle cup, but editing, weight, cost, copy, that is also something else that I can go ahead and show you. So noodle cup, here you can see the weight, you can edit it as you want, you can see the base value, some flags, addiction chances. I've already showed you that you can change the effects. I didn't mean to put it on this, but apparently now whenever you eat spicy chicken ramen, the world is going to slow down. You can change the duration and the magnitude. I don't know what the magnitude of slow time would be. Maybe how slow it moves? So that's that. And so entries, world objects. So in the creation kit you can place objects and all that. You can create ESPs with the changes that you make in the creation kit. Those objects that you added in the creation kit to whatever ESP it is that you're editing will show up in the world space or in cell. And the only difference between these is world space is everything that's outside or that is listed as an exterior, and cells are everything that is inside of a building. So the basement that's behind that house in Sanctuary Hills, you're going to find that in a cell. But Sanctuary Hills itself is going to be listed in world space. So let's say I wanted to remove a couple of things that was added in by Sanctuary leftovers. Well, I have a couple of world spaces here. There's the APC. I could just use that as an example instead. Let's say that you want your master ESP over here to remove it. Well, you can't just remove this entry from the master ESP by like right-clicking and hitting remove. What you can do, there's two different ways that you can do this. So what most people would recommend that you do is, instead of just hitting delete, which obviously can cause issues, especially like it did for me just now, you just right click it under record flags, hit edit, and you'll see this option right here, deleted. That's all you have to do. That's the best way to do it. You won't have the whole problem like I just did with trying to recopy things back over either, because if you ever decide that you want it back in the game world, you just right click it, edit, undelete it, boom, and you're good. Alright, moving on. Enough about deleting. That actually looks like it's about it for me explaining merging mods, condensing, compiling, and showing some Fallout 4 edit. So this is pretty cool. I think a lot of people probably just get their mods off the Nexus, and while the Nexus is definitely the biggest hub for getting mods for Bethesda games, some lesser known websites for illegal mods are Lover's Lab and Gaming Underground Network. And these mods are illegal because these websites are okay with hosting mods that port objects from other games, which is you're not supposed to do. That's why you can't find mods like this on the Nexus, because the Nexus is, well, they don't want to get in trouble for hosting stuff like that. But Lover's Lab and Gaming Underground Networks, you can find mods like outfits that have been ported over from Fallout 3. You can find outfits like Marine and Spartan armor from the Halo series that have been ported from those games, and really a lot of other cool stuff. As a matter of fact, on Gaming Underground Network, I know for a fact that you can even download Pelicans from Halo, and you can download a drivable Warthog from Halo, which is pretty awesome. I don't use it in my game because I like to try and keep my stuff somewhat lore friendly, but I was intrigued by it, so I downloaded it one day and tested it, and it does work really well, and it's super cool. Right. Okay, so a lot of you guys are going to have different types of PC setups. From what I understand, BA2 files load textures way faster, and that's the way that they're meant to be handled in the game. Of course, loose textures work as well. Honestly, at this point in 2020, I recommend this to anybody. Do not use hard drives anymore. Use solid states. There's a lot of controversy on hard drives and solid states. Hard drives usually are cheaper, have larger capacity, and a lot of people say that they last a lot longer. Solid states are smaller, lighter, they don't have as much storage space unless you're willing to put out a lot of money, and they are a heck of a lot faster, but a lot of people also say that they're not as reliable. Personally, I have not had any problems with the solid states that I've had. I've had two. I used to have one that I installed just for Fallout because it was only like a 40 or 80 gig solid state. That's currently in my laptop now, so my laptop is blazing fast. And I have a 1 terabyte Samsung 860 EVO in my desktop, and everything else other than Fallout runs blazing fast. Fallout takes a while just because it wasn't very optimized for the PC in the first place, and I'm running it with a ton of texture mods. But here's the difference that loose textures can make as an example. When I still had Fallout installed on a hard drive, loading times were a lot longer. Sometimes I'd even be waiting over a minute. And even when I loaded in, sometimes the textures, they wouldn't render fully until like a good 30 seconds after I was actually able to move around in the game world. It was really weird and just overall didn't look very good. But with solid states, because they're so much faster, I've never had this issue. Usually as soon as I load into the game world, which takes much less time now, as soon as I load in, the textures are all there, they're fully rendered, and the game is ready to go. Load Accelerator. Yes, this is a good mod. Here's a link for it. I'll include all of these links in the description for the video. The loading times for Fallout are also partially locked to frame rate from everything that I've heard. So basically what Load Accelerator does is it just unlocks the frame rate, but only for the loading screens. So that allows it's going to make your GPU work harder, but it's going to let your game load a heck of a lot faster too. So now, whenever I'm fast traveling somewhere, instead of it taking over a minute for me to get there, the solid state combined with a good graphics card that uses Load Accelerator, usually fast traveling only takes between 10 and 15 seconds, which is much more manageable. It is important to note though, and the main mod page says this as well, Load Accelerator will not really have a difference if you're using a hard drive. It mainly only benefits people that are using solid states. Oh yeah, and then finally, whenever you are troubleshooting mods, like if you have an issue or you want to make sure that everything works properly, the best thing that you can do is to always start a new game. And it is going to be annoying playing the intro again, and again, but I've had to do it. I've beaten the game twice, and I've had to play the intro probably about 200 times in testing all of these mods. If you have a mod that's giving you a crash, and you're using this new game method, instead of just doing one mod at a time, I recommend breaking up all of your mods into quarters. So disable all your mods, and then enable like the first 25% of them, start a new game, If everything runs as it should, then that first quarter is good. So then disable them, move on to the next quarter, enable the second quarter of mods, start a new game, and if everything's good, move on. Rinse and repeat until you find the quarter that is giving you an issue, and then you can just break that down into maybe 2 or 3 mods at a time, or if you want, 1 mod at a time. That's probably the fastest way that you can identify a mod that's giving you issues, rather than installing or uninstalling one at a time, which can obviously take a lot longer. I think that wraps it up for this video. I hope I didn't miss anything, but if I did, please let me know down in the comments what else you guys would like to see. I'm not an expert when it comes to using the creation kit, but I do have some basic experience. I know how to add objects and move things around. I've also linked things to the workshop before and created fast travel markers. Those aren't too difficult. I don't remember how to do it off the top of my head though. But if you guys want to see anything like that, let me know. And if you like my video and want to see more, please like and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to check out my Fallout series. And I also plan on doing a Halo Combat Evolved anniversary playthrough as well. And I actually already did a video, but my audio levels were super messed up and I had to scrap the entire thing. So I'm hoping that I can record that tonight and have that up by this Saturday as well, but we'll see. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Peace.